Good morning, everybody. I guess afternoon now. Going to give the algorithm a chance to set up here on all of our lives, and then we'll get going. Hope everybody's having a good day today. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Midwest Concussion Clinic monthly lunch and learn for April. My name is Matt. I am the owner of the virtual Midwest Concussion Clinic. I have built a clinic surrounded by the idea that we treat concussions with active rehab plans and not just a sit and wait approach. Today is April 22nd. It is the fourth Wednesday of the month, which is not our normal Midwest Concussion Clinic lunch and learn, but hey, life happens. Normally we do these every third Wednesday at noon Eastern time on TikTok and over on YouTube live. And we go through and put together a presentation based on something that's either been happening in the clinic, something that I've been seeing as a trend, or something that somebody, a viewer out there sends in and wants to know more about. So we put these things together. Good morning, Julianne. How are you? So today's lunch and learn is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. The idea behind today is it's more of a sit down and chat about why this matters so much to me. It's not something that I am used to. I'm not a very open person when it comes to my upbringing and how I feel and all these things. Not because it's a bad thing, but just because I'm a private person. So when I sat down and tried to figure out what I wanted to do, I like to do things that make me uncomfortable because it helps me grow as a person and as a presenter. So I put together today's monthly lunch and learn titled Why This All Matters. And it's based on the idea that all of this is going through, and we're all trying to learn more about each other, right? More about who I am, who you guys are, every patient that I work with, or anybody that trusts me in their rehab process or recovery plan. It's one of those things that I like to share to try to get to know people and try to open up and help them feel more comfortable. So without further ado, the Midwest Concussion Clinic monthly lunch and learn for April 2026 is titled Why This Matters. Again, my name is Matt Campbell. I am the owner of the virtual Midwest Concussion Clinic. Every third Wednesday of the month at noon Eastern, I put together a webinar based on something that I'm seeing in the clinic or something that people are wanting to know more information about. I believe this is our 13th presentation, maybe 14th overall, and I absolutely love putting these together. But the whole goal for today is to share why I'm so passionate about brain injuries, what makes me kind of tick as a person, and then, introduce a couple new things that I'm working on to try to continue to help people in the best of my ability. So without further ado, we've even put some fancy things together here. So here, check that out. Who I am as a person. So when we start talking about people and I get to know people and I start to work with people, I want to know who they are as a person. We are not our brain injuries. We are not the sum of the situation that we're dealing with. We are much more in depth than that. So when I sit down and I want to talk to patients about what's bothering them, what's new, what's something that they're realizing or something that they're dealing with, I want to know who they are as a person, not who their injury is. One of the big philosophies that I'm going to talk about a little later on is the idea behind I treat people and not numbers. So when we sit down and look at it, who I am as a person. So as a person, from the time I was young, I was somebody who has always been involved in leadership. I have a natural ability to lead. I am one of those people that I am fully behind the idea that leaders are born and then molded. And I am one of those people that from a very young age, I led all through sports, my friend groups, people being around people. I was always gravitated towards helping others achieve success. I am somebody who has a very interesting feeling. Like I empathize with a lot of different people. My whole goal in life is to watch everybody win. Okay, I am somebody who I really enjoy watching other people succeed at what they want to do. I tear up watching the Masked Singer and The Voice and those type of things with my wife because like those are people that are achieving their dream, and I love watching people succeed at what they love. So when I sit down and look about who I am as a person, I am the person that I want everybody around them to be doing just as good as I am. I've been saying this for years. My whole goal is to walk into every interaction I have with someone and make sure that they left that interaction better than when they came in. Whether it's a smile and holding the door for somebody, saying good morning as they walk past, or being able to be somebody that they can listen, that will listen to what's going on, or somebody that's there for them if they need it. That's me as a person. My goal is to make sure that everybody around me gets to listen and gets to enjoy the interactions and make sure that everybody else is having a better day afterwards. I tell this story when I go out and present at times, talking about kind of who I am. But when I was in college, we had this absolutely wonderful delivery lady. Her name was Lisa, and she was fantastic. She would always run through our building. She would push her cart with packages to all the different offices, and she would run through the building. And she would hand out packages, say, hey, have a great day, and keep running, and keep running, and keep running. Well, when I sat down, I'm a curious person, so I asked her, I was like, hey, Lisa, why do you run everywhere? And I was not expecting like a profound conversation. It was a random walking by, saying hi to her, and just getting a chance to get her to stop for a second. And it's something that's always stuck with me. And she told me that if I've exceeded your expectations, then I've met mine. And that was like, man, that was a wild conversation that I didn't expect to have at like 7 a.m. on a Monday in the middle of the summertime. But that resonates a lot with me because the way I interact with people and the way I want to live my life is I want people to think that I've exceeded the expectations of who they thought I was. Right? Whether it's my family, my friends, random strangers walking through Walmart, I want people who have a perception on who I am to have those expectations exceeded every time I interact with somebody. So that's a mantra that's really meant a lot to me since hearing that in college. And I've heard different iterations of it over the course of time, but that one really stuck with me. It's like, if I've exceeded your expectations, then I've met the basics of mine. And that's a great thing that I try to adapt in my day-to-day life. When I sit down and look at who I am as a person, I would not be anywhere near what I am without the people that have been around me. I am very much a big fan of the phrase that we are who we surround ourselves with, and we are the sum of our environments. I am truly, truly blessed because my family is incredible, right? Whether it's, I joke around, I have some of the greatest parents ever, right? Obviously, I'm biased in that situation, but my parents are fantastic. They are wonderful. They have always been there to support us. Always, I'm one of three, so I got to see my brothers and sister, I got to see them go through life and learn what they do and what not to do at times. And I got to evolve and see that. And then I get to look at the way that I was raised by my parents, and I couldn't have been any happier as a person than what I've been through. Now you compound that with my in-laws are absolutely incredible. I don't understand people that don't get along with their in-laws because I've been around my mother-in-law and my father-in-law since I was, I don't know, 5th grade. So I've been around them much longer in my life than I've not been around them. So when I sit down and look at like the relationship between the people that are around me, I absolutely am the luckiest person in the world because I have a set of parents and a set of in-laws that will do anything to help support me. Now, right at home, I have the biggest support system I could have ever imagined. My wife has been my best friend since we were in 5th grade. She and I have been together. We're getting ready to celebrate our 11th anniversary together. We've been together. Our joke is it's been 16 years for the past 9 years. So somewhere between 16 years and 23 years together now. That we've just been inseparable. She's been my best friend long before she and I got romantically involved and got married. And when I sat down and tried to look at some changes that happened to the business that I've talked a lot about over the course of the last 2 years, I wouldn't have done this without her. And I can't thank her enough when it comes to trying to sit down and look at who I am as a person. I can't thank her enough. So for people to understand why I do what I do and why I built the business the way that I have and what I'm continuing to try to strive and achieve, they have to understand that without my wife, without my kids, without my parents, my brother and sister, my in-laws, my brother and sister-in-laws, without anybody, I wouldn't be able to do this the way that I do it. So it all circles back to the concept of if I've exceeded expectations, then I've met mine, right? If I've exceeded what my in-laws or what my parents think I could have become, I've done the bare minimum that I should be doing as a human being. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a peek behind the curtains on who I am as a person. It also looks at the philosophies that I've tried to adapt in working throughout the Midwest Concussion Clinic. Is I want to make sure that I'm available anytime you have a problem. I want to make sure that you come in unknown and scared and nervous, and then I can set ease to a complex situation that you're dealing with. I run our social media accounts the way that I do because even if you're not a patient of mine, and I've got a lot of people that I interact with on a regular basis that we don't have a patient provider relationship, that they don't pay me anything, I don't help treat them at all, but I listen. I take the information, I take the questions that they ask, and I help share that information to make sure that they're learning what's happening as they're going through their own recovery journey. And to me, that's one of the most invaluable resources that I can offer is most people have questions or don't understand what's going on during their concussion recovery and they don't have anybody to ask. So that's why I'm doing these live on TikTok. That's why I do my webinars, because I want you to have a place to go when something's going wrong. I am very self-aware. Okay, nobody randomly scrolling through TikTok or YouTube that's going to stop by and goes, oh man, I want to learn about concussions today. Very rarely does anybody care about concussions unless they work with somebody who has a concussion or they've got an injury themselves that they're trying to navigate. So I want to be there, have the information available when something happens. If you're randomly scrolling through social media and you find my stuff, my hopes is eventually you never need me, but I'll be there if you need me. And it goes all back to, if I've exceeded the expectations that you have, then I've met the bare minimum of my expectations. One of the areas that I'm going to touch on at the end is I have been fortunate enough to have a lot of mentors in my life. And I was raised on the idea that, we are men built for others. My job is to help people and always be there to help people. So at the end of the day, I am the luckiest man in the world because I have an incredible support system who will always look for me, always look out for me, and always root for me no matter what. And I am going to share my knowledge, my passion, and my compassion with anybody who needs it. So to sum it all up, that's me as a person in a nutshell. Okay? So now we look at the idea behind what is my purpose in life. Okay, and I kind of shared a little bit with what my purpose in life is. But with my purpose in life, it's to help people. Okay, I tell people I hope that at some day I am completely out of a job with the Midwest Concussion Clinic. That they come up with a pill or they come up with a way to completely prevent concussions and nobody ever has to deal with what I work with, right? Nobody ever has to work with me. That's my whole joke and spiel is I am sorry that people have to meet me, but I will help get them headed in the right direction. My whole goal is that nobody ever needs me. So my purpose in life is to help people. Right now, the way I help the most people is I have my concussion clinic. Eventually, if this goes away, I will find another way to help people. And that's what I want to do. It's kind of funny. My wife and I have these conversations a lot. It drives me absolutely nuts when people don't put their cart away at grocery stores or at Walmart or at Lowe's. I don't understand it. Like, okay, I get it if you have, if it's limited mobility and you have the electric scooter and you leave that in the parking lot. Like, I get some of it. But the healthy 30-year-old male that puts his cart in the middle of the cart corral or in the middle of the parking lot right next to the cart corral drives me absolutely insane. So when we look at the purpose of life, my purpose is to help people. Whether it's to pick something up that they've dropped, help get something off the top shelf. I'm not very tall, but I'll help you. If it means taking a cart that's been left randomly in the middle of the parking lot and putting it away, my purpose in life is to help people. And it's to help those that I directly influence see that there are people around that will help. There's an old Mr. Rogers quote. Yeah, I'm of that age and that generation, but Mr. Rogers talked about find the helpers or find the people running towards chaos. And for me, that has been something that I have always done. If there is a situation that's chaotic, I will try to help. I don't like to be the person that's out in front. I don't like to be the person that's in the spotlight. But if there is something that I can do to help a situation, I am absolutely 1,000,000% going to help the situation at all possible. My purpose in life is to help people. I am a man built for others. I was put on this earth to make sure that everybody around me has better day after the interaction that we've had compared to what they had before we moved in. Okay? So, my purpose in life, and it's something that I will always stand behind, is to take the talents, the personality, the information, the education, take everything that I have been blessed with and given in life and try to give it back in as many different ways as possible to ensure that the people around me are getting the help that they need to succeed. Period. End of story. So, when it comes to looking at my purpose in life, right now, the goal to help people is I help through the Midwest Concussion Clinic. It's a clinic that I have built from the ground up. Now, I won't even pretend to tell you that I did it alone. Absolutely not. I have put in hours and hours and hours and quite frankly years before we even got started studying how to do it, what I needed to do, what pieces of the puzzle I needed to put together. And I was lucky enough to find multiple people throughout this journey that have similar feelings, similar desires, and similar goals in the big picture. I was lucky enough to partner with a physician by the name of Dr. Tom Lazoff. I had been told for years, hey, we're going to do it this time, we're going to do it this time, we're going to do it this time. And then the hospital system that I worked for, they didn't want to do it. Things happened, things fell through, we got to different stages of the game, but everybody kept saying no. Dr. Lazoff was one of the only people that said yes. And when he and I said yes, it was like the whole world had opened up, because he and I got together and started to build a clinic that today is known as the Midwest Concussion Clinic. His passion in treating brain injuries for 35 years, my passion and energy and eagerness to build a company from scratch met, and we continued to hit the ground running from day one. It was incredible. To this day, Dr. Lazoff and I are very close. He is working for a different entity now, and he is on the verge of retirement, so he has started to downscale. So now I have the virtual Midwest Concussion Clinic. But I would not have this business if Dr. Lazoff did not say yes. And I cannot thank him or his family enough for allowing me to have the platform to begin building this the way that I wanted to build it and to continue to expand on his already thriving medical practice. So we fast forward to the last 2 years doing this on my own, and I am incredibly grateful that he still offers wisdom and support when needed. The Midwest Concussion Clinic has been built on the idea and the passion that my job is to help people, and my purpose in life is to make sure that I take the wisdom, education, and talent that I have and share it with as many people as possible. Now, most people in the concussion space have had a concussion at some point in their life, and I'm no different. I have had one pretty severe concussion playing basketball back in 2006, back before we really did much with concussions or really knew anything compared to what we know now. And I did some very dumb things with my concussion, like continue to play, continue to not tell people, continue to hide things. And for lack of us knowing any different, we didn't really treat it. We just sat down and went, hey, eventually you'll get better. And I'll tell you, I have gotten better, right? I don't have daily headaches. I don't have daily symptoms. But as I started to progress through and look at my kind of career path, I fell in love with sports medicine. I wanted to be involved in continuing to work with athletes of all ages, keep them as healthy as possible. And that's where we started to get introduced into the world of concussions. We didn't really call it a concussion. Everybody told me that, yeah, I need to get evaluated by my athletic trainer when I got home. Well, we had a game the next night. I wasn't going to tell anybody. So I continued to play and continue to get worse. And, you know, the running jokes of you airball 2 shots in a row and everybody's like, oh, shoot for the goal in the middle. And then you throw up on the bench and everybody's like, well, you got the flu. That wasn't what happened, right? So knowing what I know now, my goal is to take athletes that did some dumb things like me and try to get them not to. Try to get them to understand that you don't play through certain things, right? The idea behind a mind over matter is not real when the mind is what's the matter. And that's something that is hard for people to learn or to take into consideration when they're going through their own concussion recovery journey. So I built the Midwest Concussion Clinic on the idea that we were going to help athletes recover. Over the course of the first 2 years, predominantly I saw athletes. But working with Dr. Lazoff, he has a thriving workers' comp presence. And we started to work together with adults with head injuries. Over the course of time, we've had competitors, right? Every good business has competitors. I'm no different. I've got a bunch of them. And when we started to look at the difference between what we were doing versus what competitors were doing, nobody was treating adults. So I started to gravitate, I started to learn, and I started to evolve and learn more about what adult brain injury needs compared to what healthy athlete needs. So I have evolved and adjusted my business, and now I went from treating predominantly kids with fast recovery timelines to I treat predominantly adults with long-term recovery because they've tried everything else. So the healthcare system has looked past them, or they have kind of cast them off to the side as there's nothing wrong with you, or we don't know what else to do, this is just you. So I've gravitated towards working with those adults. And having that Midwest Concussion Clinic, the virtual aspect of things, it's allowed me to treat people in their comfort of their own environments. We talk a lot about the idea behind brain injuries are very unique. I am somebody who I 100% feel, and I have anecdotal proof, that the brain does not heal until you understand what's going on. There is so much unknown in the brain injury world because we can't see it. X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, nothing comes back when we look at trying to identify concussions. There are certain types of scans, certain types of imaging that we can see disruption of the electrical signals that are getting better, right? They're working on blood biomarkers, they're working on saliva tests. We have great companies out there like BrainScope that has an EEG that you can put on that can identify acute concussions. Those are fantastic. I absolutely love those and wish I had the ability to use that technology in the virtual setting, but I don't. My predominant focus is those people that have been cast aside or told that there is nothing that we can do for you. This is you for the rest of your life. And that is what makes me more frustrated as every day goes by. Because even with all of the information, the research, the resources that we have on concussions, I will still get from experts, concussion symptoms can't linger for longer than 10 days. Concussion symptoms should resolve in 2 weeks. Concussion symptoms can't be there for longer than 30 days. It's anxiety, it's depression, it's PTSD. Is it all of those things? Yeah, and a lot of people, there are conflicts of all of those things. But I have a wide net of patients who never dealt with anxiety or depression before, never dealt with PTSD until they were in a car accident. And then when they were in the car accident, now all of a sudden all of these things have happened. You can't tell me that anxiety is causing all of their issues when they didn't have any problem before they fell at Walmart and hit their head, or before they got in that physical altercation with a loved one. You can't tell me that it wasn't the cause of those things. Yes, we might be treating the side effects or the symptoms of the injury itself, but not all of this stuff is looked at when it comes to experts and even in the healthcare world, the highest level of specialties. And we all, myself included, we all get things wrong all the time because it's complex, because we cannot see it. So that leads me to one of the core philosophies that I have put together with the Midwest Concussion Clinic, and one of the core things that I will continue to work on when I look at the big picture of what the Midwest Concussion Clinic is and where it's going. And that's the idea behind making the invisible visible. Okay, this is a phrase that's been tossed around a long time in different networks or in different scenes across healthcare, across rehab, across addiction recovery and counseling. It's not new at all. The concept is not new. But when we look at making the invisible visible again, is the whole philosophy of the Midwest Concussion Clinic. I have treatment of an invisible injury. CT scans, x-rays, MRIs, nothing shows up. Even the definition of sport-related concussion, the very last sentence says no explanation for ongoing neurological symptoms. So literally, the definition of concussion itself that's widely accepted around the world for sports-related concussions tells us that we've ruled literally everything else out. It's got to be this. So when we look at the idea behind invisible injuries, not only is it invisible to scans, to blood work, to different tests, it's also invisible in the healthcare system. What that means is we don't understand it. We're still learning about it. We're getting better, and I will tell you it's significantly better than when I started the business in 2019 even, right? This is significantly better, but when you don't see it, the healthcare system does not like it because there's a lot of subjectivity that goes into concussion diagnosis and treatment. We have to take a patient's word for it. And in the history of the healthcare system, we do not like subjective reports when there's nothing that we can objectively find. It's hard for me to take your word for it if I can't find a test to prove it. That has been disproven in concussions for a long time. That some of the challenge with concussions is the unpredictability in symptoms, the up and down nature of the injury itself. When healthcare can't see it, it leads to being invisible. And what we mean by invisible in healthcare, you're fine. Your scans are normal. You'll be better in a couple days. There's nothing that we can do. This is you now. This is nothing treatment-wise left to do. This is just the rest of your life. Insurance denies things because, well, if I'm an insurance company, I'm quoting old research because insurance companies are not designed to pay you everything that you need. They're designed to keep costs low. So if I've got $10,000 worth of rehab to do, as an insurance company, I'm going to quote old research that says, well, concussion symptoms can't linger this long. So when we look at the idea behind invisible in healthcare, it's not just to scans and imaging, it's to treatment. Providers don't know what to do, therapists don't know what to do, neurology doesn't know what to do, psychology doesn't know what to do because it's a combination of all of those things. And if you look at each piece of the puzzle individually, it leads to you as the person dealing with the brain injury itself to feel invisible. Nobody believes me, nobody cares, nobody wants to help me, nobody's giving me the help that I need, nobody's doing what I've asked because they don't know what to do. Or they've tried what they know how to do, and medicine can be egotistical. So we look at the idea behind the invisible injury. Not only is it invisible on scans, it's invisible on the healthcare system and the insurance system. Well, you know who else it's invisible to? Those around you that are dealing with your injury itself, right? Concussions and brain injuries affect everybody, not just the person who's got the injury. I make the joke that I'm like marriage counseling a lot because we have a dynamic shift. If I've got somebody who's dealing with long-term concussion recovery, there has been a dynamic shift in the relationship. Somebody needs help. There's more independence on one side of the relationship than there normally is. There's a breakdown on who's been able to take care of the day-to-day tasks in the house, who helps get the kids around, who helps bring in the money. Things shift during concussion recovery. And it's one of the hardest parts of the long-term concussion recovery that we deal with is the changes in relationship status. If you broke your arm, everybody would be around to help. I want to sign your cast. I'm going to carry stuff for you. If you're on crutches, it's, hey, let me help you out of the car. Let me help you up the stairs. Early with brain injuries, okay, yeah, I'll do that. But then they don't see you for a while. They come in and look at you. They don't see how you feel. They see the face that we put on, right? People see that, okay, well, you went out to dinner with your friends and you were having a good time. Why are you in bed for the next 2 days? They don't see that. They don't see that when I'm smiling and telling you I'm fine, it's just because I'm tired of telling people how I feel. We feel invisible to the people around us because people don't understand what things are going through. People don't get it in terms of what they can't see. So you start to change relationships. Things start to fall apart. things start to adapt and adjust. And if you don't have the guidance or the forethought on how to do that, you can lose relationships. I tell people with me being like marriage counseling, don't get married, don't get divorced, don't make big purchases, don't adopt kids, don't have a kid. Right now, focus on recovery first, and then as you get better, we can start to look at those things again. Don't make impulsive decisions when you're not functioning at 100%. When we have somebody who feels invisible to the people that are supposed to be helping treat them, invisible to the people that are around them, that leads to becoming invisible to the person in the mirror. We don't get it, we don't like it, we don't understand that the person that we used to be is no longer who we are. And that is one of the hardest, most isolating things that anybody dealing with long-term brain injury recovery will go through, is the idea behind, I've lost family, I've lost friends, I've lost jobs, I've lost relationships, and I'm starting to lose myself. The basic definitions of depression is a brain going slower than it wants to go with a hormone imbalance. The basic understanding of brain injuries or concussions are brains going slower than they want to go with a hormone imbalance. It's one of the hardest things that you'll deal with. The longer you don't feel good, the harder it is to remember what good feels like. Those things that we all do that are escape from reality, we can no longer do those because those make me sick to my stomach. Those make me dizzy. Those put me in bed for 6 days. Like those type of things are very hard because the people around you will not understand why you're acting different. As a person dealing with a brain injury, it is really, really hard to continually explain yourself and the needs that you have. So what tends to happen? We stop explaining things. We stop asking for help. Instead of telling people that you have a headache and you don't have the energy to do it today, we go through and we have the idea behind, I'm fine. How you doing today? I'm okay. Oh man, you feeling okay? You don't look great. I'm fine. We get tired of telling people over and over and over again why we're different, right? Why we don't feel the way we do, or why we could go to work yesterday but we can't go to work today. We lose who we were in the mirror. And that is one of the hardest things, and I'll tell you one of the hardest things that I will help people combat through is learning that self-identity and trying to help guide somebody to get the person in the mirror back first. It's something that I hear time and time again from patients that I work with, from people that I've interacted with. It's crazy to do, and it's crazy to deal with after a brain injury because, like Julianne just said here on TikTok, the things that help with depression, like movement and exercise, it's hard to do without getting symptomatic. We have to find ways to help with those type of activities that can help counteract depression, counteract suicidal harm or self-harm ideations, to do those different things to help counteract it. And it's such a difficult thing because if I do it one day, I feel okay. The next day I do it and I fall apart. It's one of the most challenging things from a rehab perspective is finding the fine line between doing too much and not enough. So the reason that I have built the clinic and the reason that I continue to build and continue to grow in the idea behind helping people is I want to make sure that I am doing everything in my power to make those that feel invisible, visible again by giving them the tools that they need to recover, the conversation starters that they need to have to become visible to the people around them, and the tools set in place to help improve the image that they're seeing in the mirror. The reason the healthcare system does not like brain injuries is because that is a mixture of medicine, psychology, self-harm or self-image, exercise, movement. It's a combination of all of those things, not just one thing at a time. So the concept behind making the invisible visible is a core theme with the Midwest Concussion Clinic. You'll see it at the bottom of different things on my social media posts. You'll see it all randomly as it pops up. I started writing a book last year on this whole concept of making the invisible visible with the 3 pillars. And I'm not one that I ever thought I would write a book. And I'll be honest with you, it's not going very much at all right now. But it is something that I am working on because it's something that everybody, in my opinion, whether they've had a brain injury or not, needs. Because the meanest person we all know is the one that sits between our ears. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you've ever interacted with. The meanest person that we know is the one that sits between our ears. And it's something that I wish I could help everybody change, and myself included. It takes time to help train the person between your ears to be nicer to each other. Okay? So, Julian, that's awesome. PR, how are you? I saw you wave earlier, but I was in the middle of it. I was going. So, Julian, that's awesome. The fact that you made yourself go for a walk this week. Don't ever downplay the length. When I sit down and I work with somebody, if they're like, well, I only walked for a mile today or this week, or I only got up and got out of bed for an hour before I had to go back and lay down. I don't care if you walk a foot. I don't care if you walk 10 feet. I don't care if you walk 10 miles. You got up and you went for a walk. That's awesome. In the world of brain injuries, in the world of acute depression, of the world of kind of just in the world in general, we don't celebrate the victories that we have enough. We don't. I'll tell you, I'm one of the terrible, worst people of this. Anytime that I'm asked how the business is going, my answer is always, it's going okay. It's going all right. Yeah, it's thriving a lot. We're helping a lot of people and things are going great. But I'll never admit that things are going great, because to me, I could always be doing better, right? So I talk to patients all the time about, hey, we got to celebrate all victories, not just the big ones. And I am trying my best to follow along the advice that I give to people as well. 6 years out. That's awesome, Julian. That's fantastic, especially because you have a plan, right? You're understanding that, hey, we got to build up and we got to go. One of the hardest things, and again, it's the social media post for later today, is the concept behind why do we have a bad day after having a good day? But it's I have to build up and I have to do things to slowly build up back who I was. One of the hardest things for people to grasp and understand is that when I'm working with a patient, I am trying to get you to understand that, yeah, you may have been somebody who went out and ran 10 miles a day, but that was before your brain injury. Your brain injury, like with your injury, you're now 6 years old, Julian. Like, you're 6 years old. You're doing things for the first time post brain injury. And it's really hard because part of that depression, part of that isolation is we mourn who we used to be before we got hurt. And it's challenging because comparison is the thief of joy, whatever cliche you want me to say for that, is if I'm trying to compare who I am now to who I was or who I want to be, it takes away from who I am and what I've built to be who I am. So that's the concept of managing and making the invisible feel visible again. And it's part of the core philosophies that I bring to the Midwest Concussion Clinic, and something that I will continue to focus on in the big picture. So something that I am going to start to roll out here is the concept behind more than recovery. I mentioned a little bit earlier at the very beginning, if you guys missed it, that who I am as a person, I was a man built for others. And I was lucky enough to go through a basketball program from the time that I was in kindergarten all the way through my senior year in high school with the same coach, the same mentor, and the same slogan. Our slogan was more than winning. Over the course of those 13 years, we were taught that it didn't matter what we did on the court to win the game. Who we were as men, who we were as individuals, who we were as people was far more important than any game that we ever won. And you want to know something? We won a lot of games because we all adopted that philosophy from a very young age. That more than winning slogan or phrasing is something that was ingrained in me throughout the most influential years in my life. It did not matter what I did on the court, it mattered what I did off. I was a man being built for others. And my basketball coach, Wayne Barker, is still a very, very big mentor in my life, and I cannot thank him enough for helping instill a lot of the philosophies and a lot of the things that I'm trying to teach my kids into who I am as a human being. So I tried to sit down and figure out how I could implement that into what I do with the Midwest Concussion Clinic. And it finally sat down and went, you know what? I'm going to start building the phrasing around more than recovery. This is not something that's trademarked. It's not something that can be trademarked. I've looked into it, right? But it's a philosophy that, yes, I am helping patients recover. Yes, I am helping them take their life back into their own hands and trying to be that person that they've always wanted to be and help them recover from an injury. But I am doing far more than that. This conversation right here is a prime example of how I'm doing more than just recovery. If I were just focused on recovery, I'd be knocking down doors. I'd be calling people. I'd be like, all right, I need 400 patients in today. I'm going to turn them and burn them, get you out in by the end of the week, get you out by the end of the month, tell you that, hey, you're 10% better than when we started. That's a big win. Cool. See you later. Send me your money. That's not what I'm doing. I am designing programs. I am helping people recover. And when I talk about helping people recover, it's not just the person who's been dealing with the brain injury. I have parents and spouses and family members and coaches and support systems that need tools and want help and need answers to their questions. Because not only is somebody that they know going through recovery, they are also navigating through the recovery because they have never dealt with somebody dealing with what their spouse or their significant other or their son or daughter has dealt with. And when I built the concept of treating people and making the invisible feel visible again, I very quickly learned it's not just the person that I'm working with that we're trying to make all of this happen. So when I start to build the philosophies, when I'm trying to grow the Midwest Concussion Clinic, I'm introducing the phrasing more than recovery. Because in my mind, this is far more than just trying to help people recover from an injury. I want to teach lessons. When I finish up with a patient, I tell all of them two things. Number one, when I'm a figment of your imagination, down the road when you're healthy and everything's going great and you try to replay how your life has gone, you will not remember who I am, right? People will not remember Matt Campbell, Midwest Concussion Clinic. But I want them to remember I was the person that was there to help when they needed it the most. I was the person that told a stupid dad joke just to try to make somebody laugh on a bad day. I was there to listen to them when they were explaining why everything around them was falling apart and helping guide them in the right direction after the brain injury that they had. You may not remember who I am. You may not remember the company that I've done or built, and you may not remember the logo that I've created, but I will 100% do everything in my power to remember the messaging that I sent to everybody else. My legacy in life is that everybody around me leaves every interaction better than when they came in. So when I'm looking at building the Midwest Concussion Clinic and continuing to grow the Midwest Concussion Clinic, we will continue to focus on two core philosophies. We're making the invisible feel visible again, and we are going through and building more than recovery. I hope that anybody I ever talk to or anybody I ever interact with will not need anything that I do. I sincerely hope that. Those of you that have been around since the beginning, I sincerely hope that tomorrow we wake up and there is a pill or a supplement that you can take or a procedure that you can have done that you will never get a concussion ever. And I have to find a way to take my passion and talents and knowledge and information and modify it so I can continue to help people. But the concept that I will forever instill in the Midwest Concussion Clinic is we are treating people, not numbers. We are making the invisible feel visible, and that we are building more than recovery. Anybody that stuck around, I really appreciate it. I know these are weird. I don't like to do these type of things. To be perfectly honest with you, the Midwest Concussion Clinic, I don't want to be, I don't like to share my feelings as people. Like I don't like to share feelings in general. I'm not that kind of person. But I want people to understand that doing things that get you out of your comfort zone is how you grow. Putting together this webinar, this live, was how I am going to grow as a person because it allows people to see some philosophies and who I am as a person and why I function the way that I do. Those of you that didn't know, or gives me a chance to remind everybody, thank you, Julianne. You have a great day. Enjoy your walk. Hopefully you get out and enjoy the weather. It's really nice here in Indiana. So it's sunny and 74. I'm about to go out and go for a walk. So hopefully you can do it too. But every third Wednesday of the month, again, this month was a little special, but every third Wednesday of the month at 12 Eastern time here on TikTok and then over on our YouTube channel, I put together the Midwest Concussion Clinic monthly lunch and learn. This is number 13 or 14. I think it's 13 that I've done over the course of the last year and 4 months. I absolutely love doing these things. It's something that I will continue to do. If there's something that you want to know or a topic that you're interested in, feel free to send me a DM, shoot me a message, be like, hey, Matt, I want to learn about this. I will gladly put it together, because if you have a question about it, so does somebody else. The Midwest Concussion Clinic monthly lunch and learns on YouTube. You can see all of the different ones. They're all kept there up on the channel. They go through and they have the recordings listed. I break them down. Thank you, PR. You have a good rest of your day too. We break them down. We put them all up there to make sure that they're available for you. I clip them down and put them on my social media accounts to make sure that the information gets out. But if you're ever interested in something, you can shoot me a DM and I'll put it into the rotation of the discussions. I have started a podcast, a Midwest Minute with Matt, simple concussion conversations that just make sense. Those of you that don't know, I am from the Midwest, hence the Midwest Concussion Clinic. I'm up in Northeast Indiana. The concept of the Midwest goodbye. A Midwest goodbye could take anywhere from a couple minutes to a couple hours, depending on who's saying goodbye. I've built a podcast surrounding taking those complex neurological conversations, breaking them down into simple ways for people to understand. My goal is to have these episodes be 10 to 15 minutes. It's something that's easy to understand, easy to digest, and that there's a takeaway at the end of every message. Again, a Midwest Minute with Matt. See, it's not saying goodbye long enough. You understand the Midwest goodbye. You get it. See, you got to understand PR. It's very important. My father-in-law is the king of the Midwest goodbye. It's like a 2-hour round trip every time. But, you know, when we start looking at the Midwest Concussion Clinics, a Midwest Minute with Matt, you can find it on all major podcast issues or major podcast hosting sites, Spotify, Apple. It's hosted on YouTube now. Give it a follow, give it a like, share it with somebody. You know, the whole concept of be a friend, tell a friend. I do have one of the most supportive wives I can, and we battle on who has more TikTok and Instagram followers and all that. It's close, okay? It's close, especially on TikTok. You know, I have 400 followers. She has 27,000. It's close. I'm trying to build it. So the more people share it, I agree, PR, she is the greatest thing of all time. But be a friend, tell a friend, share this out. It helps me grow. It helps me continue to reach the people that need me, with the whole goal of nobody ever having to need me. So if you guys have any questions, anything, feel free to reach out. I'm on all social media platforms at MW Concussion. It's got my email address here on the screen. On YouTube, it's matt@mwconcussion.com. If I can't help you directly, I will do as much as I can to help push you in the right direction, to help you get the help that you need. So thank you very much for giving me a chance to tune in. Thank you for not judging me as I share who I am as a person and my passions. And hopefully we all can continue to grow and continue to move on. My last big piece of advice for the day is be nice to people. You never know what somebody else has going on in their life that may make them feel a little bit off. Be nice, smile, hold a door. We just overall need to be nicer to each other. Have a great rest of your day. Everybody enjoy. We'll see you next time.